Hello, girls. Today we're going to continue to look at the tiger, and we're going to annotate the poem as we go. So please make sure that you have a copy of the poem to either write on with a pencil, or you can also open this up on your page on OneNote so that you can see what I'm doing or listen to what I'm saying and annotate your poem at the same time. It's important that you don't just copy and paste this, because as we speak, you'll learn a little bit more about the poem. I don't want you to just copy and paste, because that will be pointless and you wouldn't learn anything. Last time, we spoke about the structure of the tiger, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. But we're also going to talk about the use of language. Before we think about anything, we need to think about what the writer's purpose was. Well, the poet, who is the writer, wants to show us two sides of the tiger. The poet wants to show us that the tiger is incredibly beautiful, but he also, and more importantly, wants to show us that the tiger is frightening. And he really questions what kind of creator could make something that was so beautiful, yet so very, very dangerous and frightening. So there's a lot of contrast in this poem, from the beauty to the fear. The poem is an apostrophe. That means it's talking about something that isn't there. The poet is talking to the tiger. He's addressing the tiger, but the tiger's not there. Right from the beginning, the poet creates a feeling of awe and wonder. Now, awe and wonder are two very big feelings that show that we can't believe something is so big, powerful, but scary at the same time. The poet starts by repeating the word tiger, tiger. Now, there's a word for this. It's called epizeuxis. I'm not quite sure how to say it, to be honest, and I don't think it's really that important. But what is important is that you notice right from the beginning the word tiger, tiger is emphasized, made stronger that way. And immediately we get a feeling of a very powerful creature. Now, the way the poet does this is by using these two words, burning bright. Tiger, tiger, burning bright. Now, burning bright, you'll notice we repeat the b sound. That's called alliteration. And I've written it there for you. So we hear the sounds and we see the repeated word, and we get immediately, that means straight away, we've got a picture of a very powerful animal. You'll notice that this quatrain, and we call a quatrain 4 lines, or a stanza is like a paragraph, but it's made of 4 lines, a quatrain. You'll notice that it is repeated at the end of the poem as well. Let's see down here. You'll see that it's repeated here, and we call that the refrain. Now, let's go back to this tiger, burning bright. We get a picture in this first quatrain of an animal that's associated, or we think of as being evil, dark, frightening. First of all, we get a picture or an image of the forest at night. We don't see it at daytime. It's not in an open place. It's in a place that is dark and hidden, and quite a scary image. And then immediately the writer talks about who made you, the immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry. Now notice once again the writer is repeating the F sound, and we call that alliteration. So this is quite a powerful stanza, or powerful quatrain is another word of saying that. I'm going to take you back now, and we're just going to listen to the sounds. We're going to talk about the structure of this poem. So, Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? It sounds like the heartbeat of the animal, and it's very regular, like a heartbeat, and it's also the sound like a drum. And the sound is also of a drum is something that's quite primitive, quite scary, something that comes from a tribe of people that maybe we all associate the drum beat as something that's a little bit scary. Okay, so moving on to the second paragraph, once again we see more alliteration. In what distant, deep, or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? Now, repeating the D sound once again is alliteration. And on what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? So we've got the repeating of the D sound again here, the dare, dare. If you dare, you do something that's very dangerous. You're quite brave. So we're getting a feeling that the creator is quite a brave person, sorry. Notice that he asks a lot of questions, and these are called, if you look here, rhetorical questions. And that means that they're questions that have no answer. And the reason is you can't answer who created this. If there was someone who created it, creator, God, the poet's saying that creator must be so incredible to be able to make something that is so beautiful and so dangerous. Now, here we've got a metaphor, and you're going to write down that word metaphor. It's where we say one thing is something else. Burnt the fire of thine eyes. It's saying that inside the eyes of the tiger is a fire. Now, that's not possible, but you understand if I say the fire in your eyes. And we call that a metaphor. And the metaphor also makes stronger or emphasizes that this animal is very dangerous. And then we ask, what hand would dare to touch that fire, to take that fire? So all the way through, we're seeing these rhetorical questions. We also notice that a lot of the sentences start with what, and it's repeated all the way through the poem, and that we call anaphora, where we repeat sentences through the poem with the same word. And what that again does is it emphasizes for us that we can't answer this question. This question can't be answered. And then we start to see some quite strong and quite powerful and dangerous words that are used. Seize, that is a really powerful word. It's a powerful word that is an action, but it's not just a soft action, a really strong action, so strong word. Shoulder shows strength again, powerful strength, but it's contrasted with another word that shows art, great skill. So not only is there power, there's also skill in the person who created this. Notice how the poem now is more about the person, or not the person, the immortal, the creator, than the animal. Twist the sinews of thy heart, and when thy heart began to beat, now you're hearing the beat, and when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? So we've got this feeling of the heart, the beat of the heart running all the way through the use of the rhyme. So beat, feet. So the rhyme the rhyme structure that this poem uses is, I'll have a look, show you here, is the rhyme scheme, okay, is AABB. That means bright night, AA, I, symmetry, which is symmetry, is BB. So skies, eyes, aspire, fire. So the first two lines rhyme and the second two lines rhyme for each quatrain. And that's really powerful and strong in showing us that we're hearing the sound of the animal's heart, but also it's sounds like a drum. All right, and what the hammer, so at first that's animals being associated with fire, and often with fire we think of the place hell. Now, if any of you have been, well, you've all been studying Christianity and you know about God and heaven, well, the opposite place where the devil lives, it's evil and bad, is called hell, and we associate hell and fire. Hell is spelled Hell. So this animal almost comes from hell, from the deep. And so when we see the word deep, before we talked about this word deep being the ocean, but it could also refer to hell, that deep, dark place. The word dread is a very strong word as well, and it's repeated. So it's emphasizing once again how terrifying this person is. What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? So it's saying now, associating God as saying God is almost like a blacksmith. But it also, I'm going to write that. A blacksmith is somebody who works with iron and who creates things like knives and chains and things like that. But it's also referring to a character in Greek. It's a Greek god, and the Greeks' god's name, it was a Greek god who was a blacksmith, and this is how you spell it, his name, Hephaestus, Hephaestus, a Greek god. So in this poem, we have a lot of reference to something else, and we call that allusion. But I think this is probably the one that's the most powerful for you to know about, is here where we say God is like a blacksmith. That's Hephaestus, which is the Greek god. In what furnace is a very hot fire is thy brain? What the anvil, what dread clasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? So we've heard that before we had the strong word seize. Here again we've got a word that has a very similar meaning, clasp, a very strong action word. We've got grasp here as well, another very strong action word, almost like both the same. They're almost, all three words have the same meaning, and they're very strong and powerful words. And now we've got this word starting here, dare. So repeating the dare that we'd seen before, we now see this word dare again. Notice here I've talked about the exclamation mark to show surprise. And we're getting this, as the poet is writing the poem, we have the feeling that the writer is becoming more and more amazed and fearful and frightened by this God that could create this. Now we've got a bit of personification here. When the stars threw down their spears, now a spear is like a knife, but it's a long one that you, I think if you look up the word, you'll know what it is. It's sort of saying that the stars are like people, or and we call this a personification. So when you say that something that's not human has a human quality. So we've used personification, but we have another allusion here. Before we had the Greek god, the stars throwing